Have you ever seen a moment on live television that was so raw, so emotional, that it felt less like a broadcast and more like a glimpse into real life? That's exactly what happened on the Today Show when Sheinelle Jones made her official return to the screen, joining Jenna Bush Hager for a week of co-hosting Jenna and Friends. What unfolded was not just a hosting debut, but a deeply moving exchange between two women who have carried each other through laughter, grief, and resilience. The energy inside Studio 1A that morning felt different from the very beginning. Jenna Bush Hager opened the show with her usual warmth, but with a glimmer in her eyes that hinted at something more personal. She leaned toward Sheinelle with that familiar ease, saying, "Do you remember when it used to just be us filling in? Back in the days of sitting in for Hoda and Kathy Lee." Her voice carried a nostalgic lilt, like a friend recalling the simpler times before life changed in ways no one could have predicted. Sheinelle, with a smile that was both playful and tender, responded with humor. She called their pairing an arranged marriage, teasing that it was something fans had been rooting for ever since Hoda Kotb stepped away from the fourth hour earlier this year. But her joke quickly gave way to something heavier in the room. Everyone knew this wasn't just another hosting debut. This was Sheinelle's first real step back into the spotlight after losing her husband, Uche Oj, to brain cancer in May. He had been just 45 years old. For months, Sheinelle had been away, her absence quietly marking her grief while the show carried on. September 5th marked her official return, and though she looked radiant in her seat next to Jenna, there was an undeniable gravity to her presence. Jenna's voice caught as she acknowledged it. "You were gone," Jenna said softly, her tone weighted with compassion. "And yet when you came back, it was like no time was gone. It feels like you've been here the whole summer." Sheinelle nodded, pausing as though she was measuring her emotions with each breath. "It feels like I was never gone," she admitted. "And then, it also feels like it was 9 months. Those words hung heavy, encapsulating the strange paradox of grief. How time stretches endlessly in pain, and yet folds in on itself when trying to return to normal life. Jenna's composure faltered as she looked at her friend, her voice trembling. "I've never met anybody stronger," she said, emotion thick in her throat. "I just can't sit here and not say this to you. Watching you over the last year has been remarkable. And like when you just said, I want to give him the best send-off, I remember sitting at his funeral thinking, and I've been to like state funerals and such, there's never been a more beautiful funeral. Never. And you did that." Sheinelle's eyes welled up as she listened, the compliment not just about her strength, but about the love she poured into saying goodbye to her husband. Her voice cracked slightly as she revealed how one small gesture from Jenna had carried her through the hardest nights. "You sent me a text and you sent me a song. It was by Blessing Awfor. I had never heard of him." She paused, and then recited the lines that had become a lifeline. "I know there's going to be some brighter days / I swear that love will find you in your pain." She explained how she played the song again and again, clinging to the idea that even in her darkest pain, love could still find her. "The concept of love finding you in your pain," she said, her voice breaking. "That's what this is." Jenna's eyes shimmered with tears, nodding silently as the words hit her too. As if the emotions weren't already at their peak, the producers had something more planned. Jenna turned to the screen behind them, her hands squeezing Sheinelle's as video messages began to play. These weren't just fans or celebrities. These were Sheinelle's closest friends, the ones who had walked with her through the nights of tears, the silence of loss, and the fragile steps toward healing. Her world shattered, one friend said in the video, her voice thick with emotion. "And each of us just picks up one piece, and we do what we can to try and help her hold it together." Another voice chimed in, calling themselves Sheinelle's Secret Society, a circle of women who had quietly surrounded her with love when she needed it most. The screen filled with words of encouragement. "I want you to know that we've got you and you've got this. You've got this," one friend said, firm and reassuring. Another added, "The world has so much to offer you, and you have so much to offer the world. I want you to keep bringing your love and light to all of us." By now, Sheinelle was visibly overcome, tears streaming down her face as her hand clutched Jenna's. But the surprise wasn't over. The cameras shifted, and suddenly, walking into Studio 1A, came those very friends, her support system in the flesh. The audience erupted in applause as Sheinelle covered her mouth in shock, rising to embrace them one by one. Jenna, smiling through her own tears, addressed the moment. Friends are the ones that lift us up when we need them, that are there to celebrate. Y'all have done all of that, and I think it's so amazing. She turned to Sheinelle and asked gently, I mean, where would you be without these ladies? Sheinelle's response was both heartbreaking and beautiful. She looked around at her friends seated beside her, her voice trembling with honesty. I do not know. There have been a lot of tears, a lot of laughter, the hardest guttural cry I've ever had. From my highest moments to my lowest moments to the hardest laughs that I've had in my 40s, they're all on this couch. The studio was hushed. Every person, audience, crew, and viewers at home, caught in the raw truth of her words. What was supposed to be a television debut had transformed into something far more human. A testimony of grief, resilience, and the unshakable bond of friendship. The rest of the show carried on, but with a different tone. Every laugh, every light-hearted moment carried the weight of the earlier exchange, reminding everyone that joy and sorrow often walk hand in hand. Jenna and Sheinelle leaned into each other with the kind of camaraderie that can't be scripted, sharing inside jokes, playful banter, and knowing glances that spoke volumes about the road they traveled together. For the viewers at home, what they witnessed wasn't just television. It was a masterclass in vulnerability, a reminder that even public figures, with their polished smiles and practiced delivery, carry private battles that shape who they are. It was also a lesson in the power of showing up, for yourself, for your friends, and for the people who love you. Sheinelle's week as co-host will continue through Friday, September 26th, but it's clear that this first day has already set the tone. Her presence is not just that of a television personality returning to work. It is the presence of a woman who has walked through unimaginable pain and found a way to keep shining. Not by herself, but with the hands of her friends lifting her up at every turn. And in the end, perhaps that is the real takeaway. That life, with all of its unexpected turns, is not meant to be carried alone. That even in the darkest valleys, there are brighter days ahead, often illuminated by the love of the people around us. And as Sheinelle Jones sat beside Jenna Bush Hager on that unforgettable morning, it wasn't just a co-hosting debut. It was a living, breathing testament to love, resilience, and the healing power of friendship.